How to Airbnb a house without owning it. Hey, it's Chris here from Property Abundance, and in this video, we're going to unpackage the question, how can you start making money from sites like Airbnb without owning any property? Okay, maybe you've seen people doing it, maybe even friends of yours have been doing it, where you see them all of a sudden, they say, hey, I've got my first Airbnb live, I'm starting to make £1,000 a month from an Airbnb using a house I didn't even own. Now, that's a great way to make money, but how do you make money from a site like Airbnb when you don't own any property? Well, the first thing is you could buy some property. But how many of you have got £50,000 ready to go for a deposit for a house? Not too many of us, right? Now, if you have no money, then what's your other option? Okay, maybe you start to save up some money and you actually save up a pot so you've got some money ready to invest, and then you've got your deposit and you can buy a house and then you can Airbnb it. But that takes a long time. Okay, the average salary in the UK is currently £26,000. But the average house price in the UK is over 160. So to save up for a mortgage, now if you're buying an investment property, by the way, you need to save up a 25% mortgage. So to save up for 25% of the purchase price of a £168,000 house, which is the current average, it's going to take you a long time. Now, what's the other way that you can do it? Well, instead of having to buy every single house and save up your money, invest it all into one property and then be broke again until you've made your money back, and then invest it all into one property and then be broke again, instead of going through those cycles of feast and famine, what if instead you could control a property without having to own it? Now, if you want to find out more about this kind of stuff, please do me a massive favor, like this video, drop a comment onto where you're interested in setting up an Airbnb, and subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with regular property content from my own property business. Now let's dive into this. Firstly, I always get asked, but Chris, is that legal? Can I run somebody else's house that I don't even own as an Airbnb? Well, the answer is yes, as long as you have their permission. Okay, now as long as they give you their permission to sublet that property and to shortlet that property, you can get on with it. And this is exactly how I started building my own business. Okay, back in 2016, when I was working as a management consultant, I knew I wanted to do something differently. I knew I didn't want to work in the corporate world forever. In fact, I always knew that I wanted to run my own business. I just didn't know what. Until I found this exact model, where you work with existing property owners, you solve a problem that they have, get control of their property willingly, okay, I'm not taking control, but like working with them to have control of their property, and be allowed to use it for my own clients, which I find through sites like Airbnb. Now, by doing that, I was out of my job within just 2 months of my first deal, because the earnings that you can create from this strategy are salary replacing very quickly. Now, don't get me wrong, I was in a good salary. I was working as a management consultant at PwC. They pay well. But the thing is, it didn't take long for me to realize that actually I could make far, far more following my own business and building my own business using other people's properties, fixing their problems, getting their permission to run their property on Airbnb, and starting to run it myself. Now, each deal that I do using this exact model generates an average of £1,000 a month. Some of my worst ones are like $450 a month. Some of my best ones are £3,500 a month. But the point is, if we can make an average of £1,000 per month from every single Airbnb deal that we do, how many do you need to replace your salary? Well, you know, if you take home £2 a month, 24 grand average salary, then you only need 2 deals. Okay, if you take home £3 a month, it's 3 deals. If it's £4 a month, it's 4. It's a very easy sum to do. Just divide your current monthly take home from your business, from your employment. Divide that number by 1,000, and that's the number of these deals that you need. So how do we do it? Firstly, you need to find an area of high demand. Okay, now by that, I mean an area that people are going to travel to a lot, stay there for a bit, and then go home again. Okay, so places like suburbia, for example, are terrible for this because no one travels there. Okay, people just live in suburbia, right? That's great for finding houses that people are going to want to buy and live in, or maybe even single lets that people are going to want to rent. But it's not going to be a great area for people to want to travel to stay and then go home. So we need to start to think slightly differently. We need to think about things like, well, what creates this short let demand? Well, it's things like hospitals, universities, business districts, tourist attractions, things that bring people to an area for a set period of time before they leave and go back to their primary residence again. Now, once we've identified one of these areas where we think there's going to be some good demand because there's people traveling to that area, then we need to check our numbers. And now, even within the same town, prices can vary from area to area. So it's important to check the different types of demand pool in your town. Now, if there's a hospital out on the outer side of town, go and check what Airbnbs are renting for out there versus the town centre. Because what you want to do is understand, well, how does my nightly rate vary in different parts of town and for different sizes of properties? Because once you understand that front number, you can start to then look at how much it's going to cost you to acquire these properties. Now, when we don't own the house, we're going to use a strategy called rent to get control of the property and allow us to do what we want with it. Now, that is simply where we're going to lease the property from an owner with permission to sublet to our own clients on a short let basis. So what we want to do is understand, well, what is the rental market also doing in these two different areas? Because if you see that there's an area where it's got a really high nightly rate but a really low rental price, that's going to be a real sweet spot for you to be able to start investing, because you're going to be able to acquire the property cheaply and rent it out with a maximum value. So we want to try and find those big differences in price, what we call price differentials. Now, once we've understood the numbers, we then need to source our property leads. Okay, now there's tons of ways you can do this. Okay, there's lots of different methods you can use to source leads. But let's say, for example, you were to choose that you want to start working with lettings agents and you want to run some, I don't know, some local print advertising to get your name out there and to start advertising your business in the area. Whichever ones you choose, you're going to start to get leads coming in. Now, how you deal with those leads and how you discuss and agree with the landlord is the really important part. You need to be able to convey your value and fix a problem that the landlord has. Because, you know, it's quite a reasonable question. Why would a landlord want you to make money from a property that they've invested in? Well, there's lots of reasons, but we need to find one and play on that, okay? Fix the problem that they have. For example, a lot of the landlords that I work with in my own business, they appreciate working with us because we take the property for long periods of time, okay? So some of our rental periods are up to 5 years even. Once we've got the property secured, they don't have to worry about voids, they don't have to worry about tenant changeover, they don't have to worry about the minor maintenance stuff because we just include that, we do it for them. So by working with us, we're making their lives easier and we're making their incomes more stable. So think about how you can add value to the landlord that you're working with. And once you've agreed that deal, you want to set it up. And the setup's super important. Okay, you've got to get your Airbnb set up in a way that's going to appeal to your target audience. So start with the end in mind with this. If you want to focus on providing accommodation for people who are going to be staying near a hospital to be able to visit family, then we want to make sure that it's family friendly. We want to make sure there's baby changing facilities, high chairs, cots, etc. If you want to focus on the business travel market, for example, corporate business travel, we want to make sure we've got a nice high-end apartment, that it's super fast Wi-Fi, that we've got desks and stuff in there where they can work, and make sure that everything is catering to that target audience. Now, once we've got our property set up and we've got our professional photos taken, we then need to mark it up on Airbnb. So you're going to go ahead and set up your Airbnb account, list your property, just follow the steps. They have a very, very simple walkthrough guide that you can just tell them exactly what the different details of your property is. And start to launch it on Airbnb with a price that you think is reasonable compared to your competitors. Now, here's the thing. That is where most people stop. Okay? Most people that want to get into property go, okay, well, I'm just going to grab a property, stick up an Airbnb, and then cross my fingers and hope I make some money. Now, you can do that and people do make some money. Or you can do what the select few do. And you can actually start to build a business around this. Because at this point, you're not just an Airbnb host. I mean, you are an Airbnb host, but you can be so much more. Okay, there's nothing that stops you from also listing on Booking.com, Vrbo, TripAdvisor, Expedia, Kayak. There's so many different websites out there where you can advertise your property. But to be able to advertise on multiple different websites and stretch your marketing widely, you need to be able to tie your calendars together. Now, that's where you need to start to get stuff like software and be able to plug them in. Now, if you want to be able to do that, that's going to allow you to expand your marketing far wider. It's going to allow you to start attracting bookings directly to you, where you don't have to pay commissions to people like Airbnb. It's when a direct and repeat business is going to start coming back to you directly, where you can start to source almost to order. Now, if you can generate enough demand by diversifying your marketing around this, you can start to get clients coming to you where they say, I need this kind of house, can you find it for me? And that's exactly what TradeStays, my property business, now specializes in as well. So if you want to learn how you can do this strategy, how you can start to make money from Airbnb with houses you don't even have to own, and you want to professionalize it and not just stick it on Airbnb and cross your fingers and hope you're going to make some money, I've set some time aside in my team's calendar where we can help you get clear on exactly what your next step should be. Okay, now that is tailored and personalized to you based on where you are right now, what resources you have available to you. Now that would be things like how much money have you got to invest, how much time have you got to throw at this, what experience do you currently have, and we'll then give you your next steps that's going to move you towards your goal. So if you want to grab one of those complimentary calls, there is no cost, no charge for that call. The link is in the description down below. So go ahead and click on that and book your complimentary 30-minute strategy session with my team where you can get very clear on your next steps. Other than that, guys, please do me a huge favor, like, comment, and subscribe to this channel to help us to keep putting out content like this with top tips from my own property business. I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.